All right, let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION at this hour, where Hong Kong protesters have decided to defy the police ban to hold demonstrations. Remember, the Saturday protests had been called off after prominent pro-democracy activists Joshua Wong and Agnes Chow had first been detained, and then they were told that they were under arrest. But despite that, they were later, of course, released on bail. And what you're now looking at are live visuals from Hong Kong, as thousands of protesters have taken to the streets yet again, defying the ban that had been put on a gathering of this scale by the police. The police had, of course, warned people against joining the protests.
犯法就係犯法，有人犯法，警方喺足夠證據之下就要拘捕，將佢哋繩之於法。而我哋拘捕嘅人喺過去呢幾個月裏面呢，其實呢亦都肯定包括咗唔同政見、唔同背景嘅人士。請大家唔好再為一啲違法嘅人揾任何嘅藉口幫佢哋去開脱。就住呢啲暴力嘅嚴重違法事件，警方係必定會追究到底。
Meanwhile, pro-democracy activists have said that the arrests were actually planned by China and that the objective was to suffocate dissent ahead of key political events. Now, China chose to be pretty vague about it. A spokesperson of the Chinese ministry has said that Beijing has taken a note of the reports.
关于你提到的事情，看到了有关的报道。 香港特区的警方已经就此作出过说明。
Meanwhile, the court came to the rescue of Chow and Wong. The duo were granted bail in the afternoon, but according to the latest reports, 2 more leaders were arrested in the evening. Speaking after his release, Joshua Wong said that he will not surrender under pressure.
Even I've been jailed for 3 times, and I need to face a trial on 8th of November, which means 3 months later. But we still keep on our fight. We shall not surrender. And I urge international communities could send a clear message to President Xi. Sending troops or using emergency ordinance is not the way out. We will continue our fight no matter how they arrest and prosecute us.
All right, so that was Joshua Wong there speaking to the media immediately after his release, and this is what the scene looks like right now. Remember, the police had first not given permission, and then the protests had in fact been cancelled. But despite the odds, this is the manner in which the protesters have now decided to take to the streets of Hong Kong in the face of an increasing clampdown by the Hong Kong administration. And to add more perspective in terms of what is playing out in Hong Kong, we are joined by our correspondent Patrick Falk, who's joining us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much indeed, Patrick, for joining us on this broadcast. And let me begin by asking you this. Now, initially, the police had, of course, not granted permission for a mass demonstration of this nature. But despite that, what we are looking at this morning is that there are thousands of people who have yet again taken to the streets, although Joshua Wong and other activists had first been detained and then later were released on bail.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, the police just a short while ago released a message to reiterate that this is an illegal assembly. But we always expected some sort of action to be taking place, despite police turning down the request for this rally to take place because of the events over the last 24 hours. In particular, there's been a wave of arrests against prominent opposition figures, not just Joshua Wong and Agnes Chow. Last night, another 2, Jeremy Tam as well as Au Nok Kin, were also arrested. One for reportedly, one is alleged to have assaulted a police officer. The other is alleged to have obstructed officers in earlier protests that happened. So, as I say, we were expecting some sort of action to take place. There doesn't seem to be a specific plan for today's demonstration. It seems very organic indeed. It began just a couple of hours ago at Southorn Playground in Wan Chai. They've moved west, and earlier on, the group seemed to split into 2. One group headed towards Cheta Garden. Another group, hundreds if not thousands, headed towards the Chief Executive's office, which is just to the left of me up this road. The traffic has only just reopened a short while ago, but we would expect there to be a possibility that the others would head towards the Beijing liaison office. We were there earlier on today. The security is very, very tight, and indeed much tighter than we've seen in recent days and weeks that have passed. But so far, this demonstration remains peaceful.
Absolutely, indeed. And also, as the day progresses, we might expect more things to unfold. But one of the other things that I would want to draw your attention and want you to weigh in is the symbolism of the date that is associated. That was exactly 5 years ago that China had said no to open elections. It had said that people could vote, but only on candidates that would first be vetted by Beijing. How is that likely to play on the minds of the protesters as they take to the streets today?
Well, that's certainly why partly why this demonstration was taking place. It is, as you say, the 5th anniversary since Hong Kong turned down Beijing's offer of universal suffrage with strings attached. Remember, Beijing was offering universal suffrage, but they would still have to screen candidates, and that wasn't accepted by Hong Kong. A lot of people think that was a mistake by the pan-democrats not to accept it at the time, but they weren't willing to compromise, and it was all or nothing for them. Some people say, well, that's why there hasn't been any accountability in government, and that perhaps that would have been a better option, and that is perhaps why we are where we are today. But that is the purpose of today's march, to reiterate that point, and a lot of people wanted to come out and be heard about that.
Absolutely, and one of the other aspects that also a lot of people are looking at is the increased propensity, if one could so put it, of the administration in Hong Kong to arrest some of these leaders of these demonstrations. As the people have now again taken to the streets, can we expect more high-profile arrests today?
Well, look, there are reports suggesting that Beijing had set a sort of deadline of sorts for the unrest to end by early September. It's quite clear that that isn't going to happen. We expect this to roll on for weeks unless there is a political solution to this crisis. So, yes, we've seen this wave of arrests. We expect there to be a further clampdown on the movement. There could be further violence along the way. But for the time being, there is certainly no end in sight, and of course Beijing is perhaps losing its patience, because this is, as we know, getting closer to the October 1st celebrations of the marking the 70th anniversary since the founding of the People's Republic of China, and that is an event that the central government doesn't want to be spoiled.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Patrick Falk, for joining us and getting us the latest in terms of what is unfolding in Hong Kong. We'll of course come back to you as the situation develops in the city then.